3/4, goes up in 110.37. They're into the stretch of Venu Molcanu. Clings to the lead. Here is Good Magic running up alongside Firenze Fire, charging two. Firenze Fire to the outside, takes the lead. Good Magic battles on from the rail. On the far outside, moving up into third lane is Cowboy Karma, but it's going to be Firenze Fire in the Champagne. Good Magic was second, Enticed was third. Cowboy Karma finished fourth.
Free Drop Billy still in the fifth position as they come to the quarter pole, and 10 City in front. Oh, and 10 City there. An awkward move around the turn. He's dropping out of the race. Bravazzo to the lead. Free Drop Billy moves up on the outside. Ready Prospector in third. Lion Knight a wide fourth. Esmotion and Give Me a Minute. Free Drop Billy runs by for the lead into the final furlong of the Claiborne Breeders' Futurity. Free Drop Billy opening up by 3. Bravazzo in second. Lion Knight third. Lone Sailor fourth. Give Me a Minute fifth. But no catching. Free Drop Billy, who wins it for Robbie Alvarado. Bravazzo was home second. Lone Sailor rallied up for third. Close for fourth. Lion Knight or Give Me a Minute. The time 1 minute 45 and 2/5 seconds.
Oh, yeah, that call of the Champagne Stakes from Belmont Park brought to you by the Lungs. Oh, I forgot to write it down. There you go. Hey, and that call of the Breeders' Futurity was brought to you from Keeneland. Welcome to the third episode for the third season of the Whip and Neigh podcast here on Sports Radio, Detroit.com, SRD. I am one of your show hosts. I am Pete Spivak of Detroit's 1130 WDFN The Fan, and you can catch my sports updates during the afternoon hours, Monday through Friday, in the Metro Detroit area, and find me on Twitter at Son of USFL Dad. And with me is my co-host, Ryan Dickey. Ryan, how you doing, buddy?
Big weekend of horse racing coming up.
Absolutely, man. It's a big one. It's the Breeders' Cup weekend. You know, it's like the halfway point, you know, because 6 months from now is the Kentucky Derby, where, again, you know, we get into full degenerate mode. Bring as much money as we can to the track and have some fun, my friend. Ryan, you are the man, and where can people find you on Twitter?
They can find me at rdickey249, and you can see some of my most recent written stuff at 5minutes2post.com.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to mention that. I forgot to bring that up in the our little pre-show talk there. Yeah, tell people about that real quick, unless there's not much to tell.
Well, a bunch of us degenerates decided to get together and put a little website together, and they put it together first, and they asked me to join, and I said, sure, sounds good, and I've been just churning out some product over the last couple days.
Well, that's what we do here in the horse racing business, or at least in the degenerate horse racing business. Well, I should say that for myself. You are actually a little bit more legitimate than most people because you are president and CEO of Firehouse Racing Stables. So you are actually in the business to try to make a mark and to do something with your life in the horse racing business. That's good news, Ryan.
I'm like the hair club president. Not only am I the president, I'm the only member.
Never thought about that.
It's just me. I don't even have a horse right now. I'm horseless. I went down to Kentucky to Fasig-Tipton to go try to buy a yearling, and it didn't work out so well. I was 0 for 2 in the horses I bid on, and the one that I could have landed, she needed two different surgeries on 2 different legs, and it would have cost me about $12,000 in about 6 to 8 months. So sometimes coming home without a horse is a good thing.
Oh my God, yeah, you don't need that vet bill. Oh my God, yeah, that's, man. I mean, when you're spending, you know, the amount of money that you're spending, or at least trying to spend to buy a horse, you would hope it would come problem free. It's sort of like buying like a used car. I mean, you want it to be, you know, certified or you know, just, you know, definitely, you know, looked over by the dealership before they pass it out. You figure that a horse for sale, especially in the market that you were looking at, would not have any injuries or problems, but I guess I'm wrong.
Well, horses are animals and they are not machines. So
that's true,
that's one thing I learned early on is they're living, breathing beings, and they need to be treated as such. And the better you treat them, the better they treat you. So it's always good to vet out your possible purchases beforehand. And the $105 I spent on the vet report for that one is probably the best $105 I've ever spent in my life.
Well, you see, there you go. That's a good point too. They are animals. They do get, you know, hurt, and just like humans do. So it is what it is. So, but that's good stuff, Ryan. We got to treat these horses respectfully, and thank God we live in a modern day age, not like the 20s and the teens, and the aughts, the teens in the 1920s when people were drugging up horses to win races and stuff like that. Thankfully, that does not really go on anymore in today's day and age. Much. So, well, you heard the calls at the start of the show. Ryan and I break down the prep race schedule on the road to the 144th running of the Kentucky Derby. And unfortunately, Ryan, I forgot to write down the voices. The voice for Belmont Park, I believe, was Larry Colmus. And then the Breeders' Futurity from Keeneland, who was that again? Is that Mike Stone?
No, it was Kurt Becker.
That's Kurt Becker. That's right. Okay, Kurt Becker. So those two calls were brought to you by Kurt Becker and Larry Colmus. So there you go. So what Ryan and I do here on the Whip and Neigh podcast is we break down the road to the Kentucky Derby, which has changed once again. In fact, I just brought this point up to Ryan last week. The Derby officials, they still use the point system, but now there are 45 prep races on the schedule, which run from September through April. And these 45 prep races now include 7 European circuit races and 3 on the Japanese circuit. Now, the Japanese circuit was added last year, and the European circuit was just added this year. And the same rules apply. The top 4 finishers in each prep race, they're awarded points based on their finish. The winner gets the most through 4th, which gets the least. All horses are competing in prep races to try to accumulate enough points to make the national top 20. I guess it's not national now. It's now the international top 20. And these 20 horses, at the end of the series of prep races, they earn a gate at the 144th running of the Kentucky Derby. All prep races are either grade 1, 2, or 3, with 1 having the hardest competition. Now, again, I brought up the point to Ryan that I saw that the Kentucky Derby officials had just recently put on the European circuit races and the Japanese circuit races. I did not know about that, or if I did know about it, I completely missed it. Ryan, I didn't know if you knew about it. But basically what I'm trying to tell our audience is that we concentrate on the American races, or the races that take place here in the USA. But I guess we could start throwing in a few of these, races coming from, Dorchester and all the other Great Britain tracks up there, and some French tracks as well, running European circuit races as well. Ryan, did you know about that, or did we kind of flub on that one?
Well, I knew that they were going to expand a little bit. They did the 2 or 3 Japanese races last year, and it wasn't really fruitful. And I knew they were going to expand it a little bit, just to try to get a little bit of an international flair and flavor for the Kentucky Derby. I mean, how do you improve on the Kentucky Derby, really? I mean, it's already perfect. So, I knew they were going to expand somehow, but I didn't know exactly what. And well, it is what it is.
Well, I guess it is what it is, and I don't mean to start a debate, but the Kentucky Derby has always been an American race run by horses that run the prep race schedule, or run the old version of the winning certain stakes races to qualify for the Derby. It was always American horses. Within the past couple years, a couple of shippers have been coming over and stuff like that. Even back in like the early days, I mean. I'm sure there were shippers back in the early days of when the Derby was just starting, and horse racing was very, very minimal in America. I'm sure they were getting lots of shippers from the Europe and all that stuff, but I think they're making it a little bit too complicated. I mean, don't get me wrong. We have the Dubai World Classic. The Dubai World Cup is supposed to bring all these horses internationally together, not the Kentucky Derby. So I guess I don't understand what the Derby is actually doing by bringing in the European qualifiers and the Japanese qualifiers when we already have a race to do that. So why are they doing it with this one? I'm just curious. Do you have any opinion on that? Or do you not care?
Churchill Downs Incorporated, CDI, is a large conglomerate. They're a very big corporation, and they care very much about their bottom line and their stock prices, and they do what they think is best. Whether it is the best or not the best, you have to know that they're trying as hard as they can, sometimes to the detriment of the product, but sometimes things work out. So we'll let it go. We'll see how it works.
That's cool. Yeah, that's a fair opinion. Like I said, I'm just a little bit. I don't know. It sort of rubbed me the wrong way. But I guess, again, that's my opinion, and you have your opinion, which is, everybody has their opinion, which they're entitled to. But let's move on from that, I guess. Real quick, since we do have the Americas and European and Japanese circuits all involved, I do sort of have a look at a top 20 right now. I can tell you right now for the American side, Firenze Fire, Free Drop Billy, Bolt Doro, the Tabulator all have 10 points to lead the American board right now. And leading the European board is actually a Japanese horse. Saxon Warrior has 20 points out of the European board. Roaring Lion has 14 points as the number 2 horse on the European board. And then Happily, who we're going to be talking about coming up from Ireland, has 10 points on the European board as well. So that's a quick look at the top 20 standings. But obviously, there's not 20 horses really to break down, even with all these races yet. But those are the horses I just ran off. Those are the current leaders of the top 20. Did you ever have a chance to check those out, Ryan, or did you look at the top 20 scoreboard to see how it was looking?
No, I just waited for you to tell me about them.
Oh, well, there you go. You're a good man. Well, anyway, then, Ryan, so that's the rundown of the top 20, so we might as well get into our Breeders' Cup weekend coming up from the stunning Del Mar, where the surf meets the turf just north of San Diego. Is Del Mar its own town?
No, it's part of San Diego.
Okay. Just real quick, 2 races that we will break down are the Sentient Jet and the Breeders' Cup Classic, and the weather is scheduled to be mostly sunny with a high of 70, so it's going to be a beautiful California day. So we'll break down the Sentient Jet first, which is the prep race. Grade 1, 1 mile and 16th, the $2 million purse. The Breeders' Cup Juvenile Sentient Jet points awarded on the road to the Kentucky Derby are 20 for the win, 8 for place, 4 for show, and 2 for fourth. This will be race 10 on your card. A field of 12 horses, and post time is scheduled. I believe it's, does it say on here, 6:58 is the scheduled post time, and this will be on the NBC Sports Network. The, again, 12 horses in the field. The 1 horse, U.S. Navy flag. Ryan Moore on the saddle. Aidan O'Brien is your trainer at 8-1 on the morning line. The 2 horse, Solo Mini. Flavian Pratt on the saddle. Bob Baffert is your trainer at 6-1 on the morning line. The 3 horse, Firenze Fire. Erod Ortiz Jr. on the saddle. Jason Service is your trainer at 6-1 on the morning line. The 4 horse, Give Me a Minute. Javier Castellano on the saddle. Dallas Stewart is your trainer at 20-1 on the morning line. The 5 horse is Free Drop Billy. Robbie Alvarado on the saddle. Dale Romans is your trainer at 5-1 on the morning line. The 6 horse, Good Magic. Jose Ortiz on the saddle. Chad Brown is your trainer at 8-1 on the morning line. The 7 horse, The Tabulator. Jose Valdivia Jr. on the saddle, and Larry Ravelli is the trainer at 20-1 on the morning line. The 8 horse, Bahamian. Mario Gutierrez on the saddle. Simon Callahan is your trainer at 30-1 on the morning line. The 9 horse, Has It. John Velasquez on the saddle. Todd Pletcher, the trainer, 20-1 on the morning line. The 10 horse, Golden Dragon. Evan Roman on the saddle. Mikhaili Yanikov is your trainer at 30-1 on the morning line. The 11 horse, Bolt Doro. Corey Nakatani on the saddle. Mick Ruiz is your trainer at 9-5 on the morning line. He is your morning line favorite. And the 12 horse, Hollywood Star. Joel Rosario on the saddle. Dale Roman's your trainer at 15-1 on the morning line. So, Ryan, there's the field of 12 horses. I've been talking for a while. Why don't you give folks your breakdown of this race?
Well, I think the favorite, Bolt Doro, is going to need to bobble at the start to make it fair for the other runners. He's heads apart from all the other runners in here. Will his outside post be to his detriment? We don't know. He's definitely the most likely winner of this race. I think the last time we talked about him was in the front runner, and we said he was probably the most likely winner of that race, and of course he did win it. I do believe, I think it was you who liked Salamini in that race, and Salamini came in second. If he can hug the rail here and save some ground and not get really lost in the shuffle, I think Salamini at 6-1 is probably the value. I know, like I said, I think you liked him in that previous race. And, for a Baffert horse, Flavian Pratt's a pretty underrated jockey nationally. He's, people in California know how good he is. I could see him maybe making a small upset. I don't think it would be a huge upset if he wins it, but I'm going to try the 2 Salamini on top of number 11 Bolt Doro.
Interesting. Yeah, I did like Solomini before, but in the front-runner stakes, the Grade 1 front-runner stakes, which he lost to Bolt Doro in that rundown, yeah, you're sort of going along the same lines I am. The horses that I took a look at, and this is not, these are the horses that I singled out. I singled out 6 different horses in this field. I singled out the 1 U.S. Navy Flag, the 2 Solomini, the 3 Firenze Fire. I also singled out the 4 Give Me a Minute, and I will get to him in a minute. The 5 Free Drop Billy I also singled out, and I also singled out, obviously, Bolt Doro. Bolt Doro being your morning line favorite at 9-5, especially in a field like this, most likely is going to be your 2-year-old champion. But if you want to know of a horse that really could kind of steal the day, if you will, is Firenze Fire. Now remember that Firenze Fire already has a big win under his belt. Firenze Fire also leads the American board right now in a 4-way tie with 10 points. Firenze Fire, he has coming off the Grade 1 Champagne Stakes where he did absolutely beautiful. I mean, he was, at the second turn, he was in 7th place and down by 5 lengths, and he still came all the way back to win. He didn't fire in the Grade 1 Hopeful. He did not do his usual come from behind. He got tired. He was actually up closer to the lead than he was before. And obviously the Sanford, which was a Grade 3, he schooled. So, Erod Ortiz Jr. knows this horse. I think that Firenze Fire is a perfect horse in this field to play upset. Like you mentioned, Solomini, Firenze, being so close to the rail. Well, Firenze Fire could also save ground here as well. And I think that Solomini might be a little bit crowded. U.S. Navy Flag is definitely going to go out for the lead. And U.S. Navy Flag, unfortunately, he has not raced at the distance of 1 mile and 16th. Hell, he's never even done 2 turns. And he's coming over from Europe. So the thing is that I think that U.S. Navy Flag is definitely going to be tiring out, especially when he hits the mile mark. And that's going to start to back up horses. And that leaves it open for a guy like Firenze Fire to come in there. And that's why I like Give Me a Minute. I think that Give Me a Minute in a race like this. Now, if you take a look at Give Me a Minute, he's my long shot. He's 20-1 on the board. He has not fired yet. He really hasn't even exactly matured yet. So my whole point is that he's a big-time question mark in this race. He has yet to fire, and Javier Castellano is a new jockey on him. They had Joel Rosario twice. They took Brian Hernandez Jr. off of him, and now they've got Javier Castellano on there. It's a great jockey change. So I'm telling you what, I like either the 3 Firenze Fire or the 11 Bolt Doro to be your winner. But I like the 2, 3, 4, 5, and 11 combination. So here's what I'm going to do with my superfecta. I'm going to key either the 3 or the 11. So I'm going to key the 3 with the 2, 4, 5, 11, or I'll key the 11 with the 2, 3, 4, 5. That's how I see the Breeders' Cup Sentient Jet shaping out. Any comments on those?
Yeah, Firenze Fire, I think his Sanford win, I think, was visually more impressive to me than his Champagne was. I mean, he was double-digit odds in both of them, but that Sanford was a key race. There were some races at Keeneland, and people were talking about the Sanford and how well that played out. So Firenze Fire, I think he's really, like you said, he's tied for the lead because of the Champagne win. But I think he's all right. I like Free Drop Billy a little bit myself. Free Drop Billy, he could catch a piece, I think, in this race. I don't think he's too many notches away from Bolt Doro. Interesting to me is U.S. Navy Flag. If U.S. Navy Flag were to run on Friday in the juvenile turf, he would probably be the favorite. I mean,
you got it. Absolutely. He's in the wrong race. Thank you.
Yeah, he's a Warfront colt. He was a $250,000 purchase. Aidan O'Brien's a world-class trainer. Ryan Moore's a world-class jockey. I don't really like my 2-year-olds having 10 races under their belt, but they know what they're doing much better than I do. I think if this one saves some ground, he might surprise. I think U.S. Navy Flag, even though he is in the wrong race, I think he might hit the board and be a decent price. I know he's 8-1 on the morning line, but we'll take that in the Breeders' Cup.
Well, absolutely. And one other note I want to make about the 4, Give Me a Minute. He has the second highest speed rating out of all these horses. He hit a 98 speed rating in that Grade 1 Hopeful Stakes where he finished third. And so I'm telling you, don't throw out Give Me a Minute, the 4-horse. He could be there, especially with the jockey change. So just, I want everybody to keep that in mind.
Well, Castellano's a lot better jockey than, Hernandez or Rosario.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. So really.
So what were your numbers? What numbers are you going with?
So I'm going to be taking, again, I like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11, but, to single out to make it 4 horses, I like the 2, 3, 5, 11, definitely, but I'm really cautious about that 4-horse, so I'm going to play around with that 4-horse and a couple exotics.
Okay, I like it. I'm going with 2, Salamini. He's my upset choice over 11, Bolt Doro. 5, Free Drop Billy, and number 1, U.S. Navy Flag. So 2, 11, 5, 1 for me.
You got it, and I think that it's either going to be Firenze Fire with the win, or both. It's either going to be the 3, the 5, or the 11. Firenze Fire, Free Drop Billy, or Bolt Doro with the win, and I really think that Firenze Fire might pull out the upset. So we will see what happens. So Ryan, that leads us into the Breeders' Cup Classic. Why don't you take it away, my friend?
Sounds good. We're going to go the Breeders' Cup Classic. We're going 1 1/4 miles, classic distance. From the rail, number 1, Arrogant, Bob Baffert, trainer, 2-1 with Mike Smith in the irons. Number 2, War Decree. He's going to be a 30-1 long shot, even more than that. Seamus Heffernan in the saddle. Aidan O'Brien, again, world-class trainer. Number 3, Win the Space, also 30-1. This one likes to run in big races for some reason. George Papadromo is the trainer. Joe Talamo, the jockey. Number 4, War Story, also 30-1. Jorge Navarro, the juice man. Jose Ortiz in the saddle. Number 5, Gunrunner, the 9-5 favorite with Steve Asmussen as the trainer. Florent Giroux is your jockey. Mutahij is the 6-horse, another Baffert trainee. Drayden Van Dyke will be aboard here, 12-1 in the morning line. Churchill, the European invader, 15-1. Another Aidan O'Brien trained horse. Ryan Moore, which is his go-to guy, will be up on Churchill. Number 8, West Coast, another Bob Baffert horse. So we got a lot of Bafferts and a lot of Aidan O'Briens here. 6-1 on number 8, West Coast. Javier Castellano will be your pilot. Number 9, Gunnevera, another 30-1. However, 30-1 and Gunnevera do not seem to mix. Antonio Sano is your trainer. Edgar Zayas is the jockey. Number 10 is Pavel. Pavel's 20-1. Doug O'Neill and Mario Gutierrez. Stop me if you've heard this combination before. And number 11 is Collected, 6-1. Guess what? Another Baffert horse. Martin Garcia is the jockey. That's your field for the Breeders' Cup Classic. Race number 12 on your program.
Obviously, Bob Baffert and Aidan O'Brien need a share of $6 million.
Correct.
Obviously.
Yes, yes, they do. What strikes you from this race here?
Well, I tell you what strikes me from this race is Collected. I think Collected, even from the outside, is he is going to be the determining factor in this race, and I'll tell you why, because Collected likes to run from the front and bully the leaders. And if he has to do that from the 11 hole, then he's really going to make it a fast pace, and that sets it up for a good old gun runner to come gunning from behind. I mean, obviously, Arrogate's one of the horses that'll come from back there as well. I don't think West Coast has enough to keep up. So let's get real here. It's got to be either Arrogate, Gun Runner, or Collected to be winning this race. To me, it's Arrogate's past his. You know what? Arrogate's past his time. I think Gun Runner has had his time as well. I think it's Collected. I think Collected honestly has a very good chance in this race to actually win from the 11 hole. I'm kind of curious as to the style for Bob Baffert and Martin Garcia in this one, because obviously Baffert likes the lead. But in this case, coming from the 11 hole, it's interesting. He came from the 10 hole, and again with Castellano aboard, not Martin Garcia, but Castellano came from the 10 hole back in April. This is April of 2016 at Keeneland. It was the Grade 3 Lexington. He started in the 10th position and still won by 4 lengths. Now, that was 1 mile and 16th distance. Okay? So this is obviously 1 mile and a quarter, so we're adding a couple extra lengths here. But I really think that Collected has a very good opportunity to really do some damage up there in third place. While he's sitting there breathing in third place, I think he's actually going to be able to catch his breath and provide a harder time for Arrogate and Gunrunner to come from behind and catch him. I think that Gunnevera, as you said, surprisingly, he's 30-1. I think Gunnevera is on his way down. I think that he just doesn't seem to look good. He's been scattered all over the board lately. He's just, I think he's sort of kind of finishing up his career. So I really like the 11 Collected to really sort of shock you here from the third place position as he rounds the third quarter pole to basically take the lead and say, hey, Arrogate and Gunrunner, come get some. And I really think that the 11 Collected might actually be your winner for the $6 million purse, Grade 1 mile and a quarter, Breeders' Cup Classic. How about you, Ryan?
Well, I think that the winner of this race is either going to be Gunrunner, or Gunrunner.
You and Randy Moss agree.
Yeah, Gunrunner looks great. If you look at the way that this horse has progressed, this is how you want a world-class colt to progress. He keeps getting better. He looks great. He's training the part. He's the winner, okay? Arrogate, it's his final race. The horses never know when it's their final race, but the trainers do. They may cut a corner here, cut a corner there. You know, he's worth millions upon millions upon millions of dollars, so, you know, you might just soften up a little bit. Now, that being said, he does look good. He looks better than he did in the first race before the in the San Diego Handicap. He just looked terrible. He looked a lot better in the Pacific Classic, even though he didn't win. I mean, Collected did have his best there that day, and I do like Collected in this race. I'm not saying that I don't, but I think Gunrunner is primed and ready to go to win the Classic. I like Arrogate to get a piece, and as you said, Gunnevera, the Breeders' Cup is the only time you're going to get a horse like Gunnevera at 30-1. He's not going to go off 30-1, but he's going to go off 20, 25-1. You've got to use that value, that number underneath. So for me, it's Gunrunner, Arrogate, Gunnevera, and then Collected underneath.
There you go. So that would make it the 1, 5, 9, 11 for you. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so I like the 11 over the 1 and 5, just myself. I also like Mubtahij. I think that Mubtahij is a question mark for this race. I don't think he's going to win, but I think he's a question mark for the board. And at 12-1, he'll probably drop to about 8-1, maybe 9-1 before the bell. So if you want him as a exotic horse, I would recommend throwing in Mubtahij as a good horse, and especially at this distance for him to grab probably fourth in your exotics as well. Anything else to add, my friend Ryan?
Yeah, the cool thing about this race is the way it's configured at Del Mar is it's going to be a true race because it's a long run to the first turn, so there's not going to be any trickiness. Like some of the other mile races, the first turn is real quick after the gate, so you basically are taking horses that are on the outside and giving them no real shot based upon that. But this one's going to be the most fair race as far as the configuration, and I think everything will hold true to form. And like I said, I'm Gunrunner all the way. I was in Las Vegas in June during the Belmont Stakes, and I had an opportunity to bet Gunrunner at 6.5-1. That was when Arrogate was all world and nobody thought anybody could beat him. And I wanted to take a shot, and I just didn't pull the trigger on it, and I've been kicking myself ever since.
Well, you know, you're not too far off on Gunrunner because I mentioned to you earlier about Randy Moss. Randy Moss was actually the handicapper Randy Moss, not the football player, folks. Get that straight. There could be two people named Randy Moss in this world, probably 200. But Randy Moss, the handicapper, he was in town for Sunday Night Football. As most people who are football fans know, Randy Moss also covers football. He loves Gunrunner, and he told two separate sources for me that he loves Gunrunner as well. So I'll tell you right now, if a guy like Randy Moss, who definitely knows his horses, he and Paul LaDuca are just two of the best handicappers in the nation, I think. If he's saying Gunrunner is, he's that set on Gunrunner, then it has to be so. I'm not saying that he's God, but he's the closest thing to it, at least in the degenerate world. So I really think that you're not too far off there. I think Gunrunner, even at 9-5, your morning line favorite, by the way, over Arrogate. I really think that you're right. It probably is his race. So the only horse I see that could affect him is really honestly Collected. I mean, but again, that's, like I said, you're not saying that you don't like him, but that's why I like Collected. Plus, Collected has some of the higher rated speed ratings in this race.
Right.
So that's another thing. So it's going to be, I think you're right. It's a true 1.25 mile race, especially at Del Mar, which you have been to.
No, I've been to it. I haven't seen live racing there, but
Right.
I've been there, just to poke around a little bit. But I've never actually seen racing there.
Well, I hope people will be watching. By the way, the Classic, let me reiterate that the Sentient Jet will be on the NBC Sports Network, but then the Classic and then the race before the Classic will be on the big NBC Channel 4, so make sure you tune in for that. Real quick, I just want to make mention to our audience to make sure you tune in for other shows and podcasts here. Also, I want you to make sure that you tune in as Ryan and I will next break down on the coming up in late November. We'll have to figure out when we're going to do this because it's around Thanksgiving. Ryan and I would have 2 races to break down. The Kentucky Jockey Club Stakes from Churchill Downs as Churchill concludes their season for the fall. And then also the Catalea Show from Tokyo Racecourse, both races on November 25th. Obviously, again, with Thanksgiving in that time, we'll have to figure out when we could do a show, but that's what's coming up next for us. Any comment?
No, I want to. I hope we do well this week, and then people will take our word a little like Randy Moss.
Yeah, well, there you go. We're Randy Moss-ites. We're just trying to get there. Exactly. Well, very good.
I would be happy being either Randy Moss.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. One has a lot of, actually both have a lot of money, and both are pretty well known too. So there you go. Well, don't forget to tune into other shows and podcasts here on Sports Radio, Detroit.com, including Out of Bounds, Spinning the Wheels, Mitten Sports Talk, Wrestling Fans, SRD Roadshow, Fanarchy, Over Under Fair, Pucking Around, Tigers, Wings, Pistons, and Lions SRD, the Laugh Track Podcast, and Set Piece Podcast. Also, don't forget to check back more of the Whip and Neigh podcast as the Triple Crown season progresses. Thank you very much for listening. Reminder, you can find me, Pete Spivak, on Detroit's 1130, WDFN The Fan, and find me on Twitter at Son of USFL Dad. And Ryan, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter at rdickey249, and you can also find me at 5minutstopost.com.
That is Ryan Dickey, our co-host. Remember what Stan Laurel says, folks. You can lead a horse to water, but a pencil must be led. Good luck. Hail and farewell. I fucked up my outro. There you go.